This is the story time of one of the most disrespectful things a man has ever done to me. We are gonna call this man Sweet Green. Sweet Green and I were like not that serious. We were like seeing each other. We were fucking, okay? Sweet Green and I were fucking. That's just a casual way of me looking not like a fucking whore. I didn't really like Sweet Green that much. I really only just kept him around to, you know. And even at that point, I was like, I really wasn't even fucking with him that heavy. We just honestly, you know when you're like, I should have just never talked to this motherfucker. Like, I should have just never talked to this man. Sweet Green came over one night to hang out. And this was the night that, okay, I don't like this man. Like, I really don't like this man. And I actually need to cut things off with him because, honestly, it's not even worth it at this point because he just genuinely annoys the absolute fuck out of me. So, like, why am I keeping him around? He's just, like, wasting my energy. Like, this is so dumb. But this night at my house, I was like, oh, this is definitely going to be our last night together. Like, I'm ending it after this, but like I wanted a goodbye fuck. To be honest, I really don't know why I did because it wasn't anything I was gonna miss. And right after we're done, this man turns to me and goes, look at this baddie in my Instagram DMs. This man was just deep inside of me, turns to me and says, look at this baddie that's in my DM. Listen, I don't know how you guys are with the men you fucked, but like, I am never going to take disrespect from any man ever in my life. That was very much not our relationship. I would never speak to him about the hoes I was like, okay, I wasn't even fucking anyone, but I would never speak to him about my hoes. I just wasn't gonna disrespect him like that. But now I will. This man pulls up her Instagram. He's like, look. And I was like, okay, first of all, that is so fucking disrespectful. I said this to him. I'm like, that is so fucking disrespectful. I don't know what you think this is or anything like that. Like, cause he was super insecure about my TikTok. This man was so nice and so respectful up until he saw my TikToks. And I even called him out on it. I was like, hey, I feel like ever since you like started watching my TikToks, which like, don't fucking do that. That's weird. But like ever since then, you've just like changed. You became this like fuck boy. And he was like, no, I'll admit it. Like your TikToks have made me feel a certain way. Here's what I'm gonna fucking say about that. If you're not confident and secure in yourself, don't watch my TikToks. As a man, like don't watch my fucking TikToks if it's going to make you feel some sort of way that I've talked about other men in the past. Guess what? We're not fucking exclusive, and we were literally never even close to being exclusive. Like, I'm gonna talk the way I want to talk. If you have an issue with it, stop talking to me. I'm not going to change what I do for a living, babe, just because it made you insecure and feel like a weak ass man. And that's all on you. That is so much to say about you and nothing to say about me. You can't handle my TikToks. Get the fuck out of the way. And if you think I'm gonna bash you on TikTok, don't do dumb shit like this, babe. Go to part 2. So when Sweet Green is looking at me and being like, look at this baddie in my DMs, I look at that man and I say, listen, it's so fucking disrespectful. I would never in my life show you my DMs because I would never want to permanently hurt your ego. No, like I was going to be a fucking bitch back to that man. I was like, he was like, no, show me. And I'm like, no, like it'll genuinely ruin your self-esteem. I would never want to do that to a man. This man is just looking at me like, but to have just fucked me and be like, look at this baddie in my DMs, you have to be a special level of insecure. Like that says so much more about you than it'll ever say about me. Like if I ever pulled up one of my other hoes to my one hoe, I'm just looking like an insecure bitch who needs to prove that I get bitches. I also feel like, one, if I wasn't very confident in myself, and if I actually liked this fucker, it would hurt my feelings. But at that point, I was like, okay, this just solidifies the fact that like Sweet Green no longer has a place in my life. Like I was already done before the last disappointing fuck. Like I'm extra done now. Like you're not good enough for me to keep you in my life and put up with this dumb bullshit. Like dick game ain't that strong, babe. Like come on. But even if like your game was something I genuinely enjoyed, I'm never gonna put up with that disrespect from anybody. Like that is just so out of pocket to do to somebody. Like I just genuinely, I don't fuck with men. And even the people like, I would never do that to somebody because it's just fucking rude. Make matters 30 times worse. He was like, oh, she slid up on a photo you told me to post. This man asked me what photo he should post of him and his like friends. He was like, which one looks good? And I was like, I don't care. Either one. The first one, who literally gives a fuck. And he was like, you shouldn't have let me post it. I was like, I genuinely, babe, we're literally not dating and I don't care about you enough to be like, oh my God, don't post that. Like, what? Why would I ever say that to a man? Like, no, go do your thing. You're single. Post the photo. Also, it's like, it was like just like a fucking photo. What do you mean, babe? But I think about that. I'm like, that type of shit could genuinely make a bitch insecure. And like, if a man ever does dumb shit like that to you, just remember, it says a lot more about him and his fragile ego than it'll ever say about you. Because any man that is secure in himself and his ego and who he is as a person is never going to have to prove that he gets bitches. 9 times out of 10, the men that are like, oh my God, all these bitches on my line, don't have them. They're like, oh my God, they love me so much. Like, the bitches love me. You literally don't have bitches. So Sweet Green and I have not spoken since then, obviously. Green felt like a glitch in the stimulation for me. Like, Sweet Green genuinely was like 50% off my standards this week and this week only. Like, that's what the fuck it felt like. And y'all wonder why I've never said y'all, but you guys wonder why I'm on a men's cleanse. Cause that's why. That's the type of dumb shit I was dealing with. And it's like, I look back, I'm like, bitch, why? Why? That was the most disrespectful thing a man has done to me.
Story time about how my husband left me for my twin brother. I, female, 25, have been married to my husband for 6 months. When we started dating, it was just casual. I never thought I would marry this man, but it happened. We had a pregnancy scare, and that's when he told me that if I was pregnant, that he would marry me. We took a few pregnancy tests, and most of them came out positive. So we were convinced we were having a kid together. Of course, he asked me to marry him, and not until 3 months later did we decide to go to the doctor. And as soon as we got to the doctor, they said, "You're not pregnant." We couldn't believe it, but nonetheless, we were still married. He and I weren't exactly soulmates. When we started dating, we had a lot of fun together, but my friends would always make comments about him possibly being gay. I never took him seriously because he was interested in me, a woman. Sometimes my male friends would say, "Oh, he stares at me a lot," or that he would ask them to go out for drinks by themselves. I thought he was just trying to be nice and getting to know my friends. Obviously, I was wrong. My twin brother and I don't have a really close relationship. We had a falling out when he found out that I was pregnant. He thought I was ruining my life by having a kid, but it turns out I wasn't pregnant. So we started getting close again. He would come over to our house and spend a lot of time with my husband and I. But then I realized that they were doing naughty things together. Follow for part 2. Story time about how my husband left me for my twin brother. I would come home and find my twin brother on the couch with my husband. Of course, I just thought they were trying to get to know each other. I mean, we just got married and all. Got to the point where my brother was coming over to my place every single day. And my husband and him would hang out all day together. My husband works from home, so he's always there. I own my own business, so I'm usually not home before 3 p.m. Every time I would come home, my twin brother was already there. Eventually, I told my twin brother he needed to give me and my new husband our privacy. That's when he said that I was overreacting and that he was just trying to get to know him. Then he said, "Are you jealous?" I looked him straight in the face and I said, "Why should I be jealous? You're my twin brother." Then he laughed, got up, and left my house. And just like that, I knew something was going on. In part 1, I told you guys about those friends that warned me about my husband being gay. I decided to call on my friends and ask them to tell me why they thought my husband might be gay. They gave me lists. And I started writing everything down, and everything started connecting. I'd come to the realization that I married a gay man and that he was possibly having an affair with my twin brother. I mean, could things get worse? I decided to confront my husband. What he told me literally shocked me. Part 3 is up. Story time about how my husband left me for my twin brother. I confronted my husband. He told me that my brother essentially had been following him around and wouldn't leave him alone. In other words, he was putting all the blame on my brother. But instead of believing him right away, I grilled him. Started asking him questions about his past, like why he had never had a relationship before me with another woman, why all of my friends, literally all of them, thought he was gay. Of course, he denied everything, so I got on the phone and called my brother. I asked him to come over really quick, and he did. And of course, I started interrogating him too. That's when I told my husband to repeat what he had told me. But he couldn't. He looked at my brother and said, "Sorry, I told her the truth." My brother said, "Which is?" And my husband says, "You won't leave me alone and that you've been harassing me." That's when my brother tried to swing at him. Then my brother spilled all the beans. He said that on my wedding night, my husband and him made out. And that after that, my brother would come to our house after I left every single morning to be with my husband and to do all the nasty things they wanted to do to each other. My brother told me that the one who started it was my husband. I looked at my husband and he couldn't deny anything. I divorced him the next day. My now ex is trying to convince my brother to be in a relationship with him, but he doesn't want to. And my dad is hunting my ex down. Bye. Story time about how my husband died and his best friend won't leave me alone. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. My husband and I were married for almost a decade. During that time, we had 2 kids. And of course, his passing was completely devastating to our families. And 2 weeks after my husband died, I was still grieving. But his best friend started coming around our house a lot. First, he was very emotional. Him and my husband were best friends for about 7 years. They saw each other almost every day. Not only did they work together, but they also would go to the gym together and pretty much hang out all the time. So I know this guy really, really well. When my husband would invite him over, I never got the feeling that he liked me. I mean, sure, sometimes I caught him staring at me, but I'm beautiful, so I understand. So after my husband passed, he started coming over as in, "I want to take care of you," and we would just kind of cry together. I took this as his way of trying to help my husband, so I just thought he was being really sweet. But exactly 1 month after my husband passed away, he started asking me weird questions. Number 1, Do you want to start dating again? Number 2, don't you feel lonely at night? Number 3, you're still so young and beautiful. You need to give yourself a chance with someone else. Mind you, I'm still grieving. To these questions, I would usually say no. Obviously, I mean, why would I even be thinking about those things? I didn't put too much mind to the questions, but a few days later, he came over after he had been at a bar. As soon as I opened the door to him, he said, "Can I kiss you?" And then he did without me saying yes. Part 2 is story time about how my dead husband's best friend won't leave me alone. Disclaimers is not my story time, was sent me on Instagram. As soon as I opened the door, he asked me if he could kiss me, and I didn't say anything. And he grabbed me and just started kissing me. Of course, I pushed him away and told him that he needed to leave. That's when he said, "But you didn't say no." I told him I didn't say anything because I was shocked he would even ask me that. That's when he walked into the house without me inviting him, went straight to the fridge and opened up a beer. Then he starts yelling at me for giving him mixed signals. He says that since my husband died, all I've been doing is flirting with him. Since when is grieving flirting? I told him that he was completely wrong and that he needed to leave again. Then he said, "No, I'm not leaving here until you tell me the truth." That I was secretly in love with him and that I actually wanted to be with him. No, this wasn't funny to me at all. He was slurring his words and barely could stand up. I knew my kids were upstairs, so all I wanted to do was get him out of the house. That's when I grabbed my phone and started texting one of my other husband's best friends. I texted him 911, "Please come to our house now." He responded right away saying, "I'm coming over." After another minute of this guy ranting at me, I told him I was sorry for giving him mixed signals and that was never my intention, blah blah blah. Then he asked me out on a date. He said that he wanted to take me out and show me a good time. I said no, and I asked him to leave again, but he wouldn't. Finally, someone knocks on the door. Part 3 is up. Story time about how my dead husband's best friend won't leave me alone. Disclaimers is not my story time, and send me on Instagram. That's when he asked me out on a date and started walking closer to me. Finally, someone knocked on the door, and it was my other husband's friend who I texted to come help me. I ran over to the door quickly and I opened it. That's when my husband's best friend, who was drunk in my house asking me out on a date, forcing me to kiss him, tells the other guy that he needs to leave. So I asked the other friend if he could just take this guy home. He said, "Yeah, of course." And he told him, "You're drunk. I'm gonna take you home now." They left together without incident and I was really relieved. But after that, I knew to watch my back now. So here's what happened. He started texting me every now and then asking me if I wanted to go to dinner. And I would not even respond to him. And after that, he started showing up to different places I was at. For example, I go to Pilates classes 5 times a week. This place is near my house. And one day he just showed up trying to take a class. As soon as I saw him, I told the instructor and they kicked him out. That's when he came back and said that he did nothing wrong and that he deserved to be in the class too. He even paid the year up front. So they had no choice but to let him in. Instead, I left. Then he followed me outside to the parking lot and told me that I needed to relax. Said, "It's not like I'm following you," which he clearly was. I got in my car and left. That very same night, he sent me a message apologizing for acting crazy. Then he told me that all he wanted was just to be close to me and the kids. By the way, my kids really do love him. They ask about him all the time since he stopped coming over, and I don't even know what to tell them. After a few weeks of him not acting crazy, he asked me if he could come over and I said yes. Decided to invite all my husband's friends and we had a nice dinner. But again, this guy asked me out. I said no, but my best friend thinks I should give him a shot. He's good looking and rich. What do you guys think?
This is gonna be a story time while I take my makeup off about how I was the crazy ex. So my boyfriend at the time, we were on and off, and he kicked me out and told me to pack my stuff and I had to be out that night. I definitely packed my stuff for sure, packed my stuff and moved it to a different closet in his house that he never opens. So I started sleeping in his car, but he kept finding me there every morning when he had to go to work. So I decided that I was going to continue sleeping in his car and I was going to wake up a little earlier before he had to go to work. And I knocked on his door and I told him that I needed to get some stuff that I forgot. I decided that I was going to take my sweet time up until the time he had to go to work so I could have the house all to myself. I slept in that house for multiple days without this man knowing. Is he ever going to find out? I don't know. Listen, Linda, I honestly did what I had to do and I do it again. Well, one day I remember him coming home and I kept hearing a girl's voice. This time when he came home, it was kind of unexpected, so I had to run under his bed. I kept hearing this girl's voice all the way from downstairs until he came upstairs. And so once he sat down on the bed, I jumped out from out that mother and I jumped on his ass. But I didn't see no girl. Apparently he was just on the phone. He dragged me out the house, told me I was crazy, said he was gonna call the cops if he saw me there again. But all is good. This was like 5 years ago. Me and this man are married now. He's now my baby daddy. And we got 3 kids.
I woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna piss my mom off to death. That woman loves to piss me off. I'm like, it's time for me to I just woke up and I was like, choosing fucking violence. My mom and I have been beefing a little bit as is because this woman wants to plan Thanksgiving like 3 weeks ahead. And I'm like, Mom, I don't even understand or know my schedule to like the week before. I'm not planning. I'm not planning ahead like this, and we're not even close to Thanksgiving. Well, now we kind of are. Whatever, but she's very stressed because her boyfriend, the love of her life, you would think no man ever fucking exists besides this man, is coming to Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited for Brad to come to Thanksgiving. And I won't lie, I did make a comment. No, and this is wrong of me. Last week she was pissing me off so badly, and I made a comment calling him weird. And then I was like, no, I'm sorry. He's not weird. You're just really fucking weird about him, whatever. So ever since that day, we've been kind of beefing. Like, and it's wrong. I shouldn't have called her man's weird. Like, he's really not weird. I actually like him a lot. It's just she's weird. Like, she's the weird one. Regardless, he's coming to Thanksgiving. I'm like, I'm so excited. She's like, Olivia, you better be on your best fucking behavior. I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm a grown-ass woman. Like, you cannot tell me to, like, what does she think I'm gonna do? Then I'm like, let me fuck with her. And I was like, you know, it would be such a good game to do with your boyfriend there and all is like, why don't we just go around the table and say our favorite things about my father? Like, okay, obviously, like, my dad's not in my life, and they had like a horrible relationship. And like, you're like, Livy, that's like literally not funny. No, we like to joke about him, okay? She was talking to me about games that we could play for Thanksgiving, and I was like, a good one would be, let's name our favorite memories with my father. And she's like, Olivia, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that's not even funny. Brad would be horrified. And she was like, we don't even like your father. Why would we play that game? I was like, to spice up Thanksgiving, Mom. Mom was like, I can never control what comes out of that fucking mouth of yours. And it's so annoying, da 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 da. And I'm like, you're complaining about my mouth and what I say? I was like, that is rich coming from a bitch who is asking me for like $1,000 Christmas presents. Like, this is the mouth that gets paid, bitch. Like, if you don't like it, then like, okay, we don't have to do Christmas. No presents for mommy. No presents for mommy. Also, I just said that to piss her off because in what world would I sit there and want to talk about my father? Like there's just like, no, I'm like, you literally don't even know me. Like, why would I do that? I forget that motherfucker exists. Like, I genuinely, like, he's not in my life. Why would I think about him? For her to think I'm dead ass serious that we would play that game in front of Brad is just, it's too good for me to even tell her I'm kidding. You know what I mean? It's too good to even give her a peace of mind that I would never do something like that. Now that I tell this story, I'm like, wait, how funny would it be if I got like Sissy and my other sister involved too, and we're like, no, this is such a good game. Like, let's play our favorite childhood traumas. Everyone's involved. Let's go. Thanksgiving's about to be real fucking interesting. I'll tell you that much.